everyone. Welcome to In the Loop, a podcast about everything culture and music. I'm your host, Corinne Gutman, and I'm joined by my producer, Reed Dank, and editor, Shivani Vashi. Today we will be covering the genre of pop and its influence on fashion within American culture. Americans are demographically diverse. We all come from different educational backgrounds and classes, have different political and religious beliefs, and identify with various social identities. However, music consumption is one of the things that most people have in common, including us. According to Marie-Charlotte Godeg's study conducted in 2019 and published in 2021, 68% of adults aged between 18 and 34 years old reported listening to music every single day. This isn't just day-to-day, monthly, every single day. Music is such a widely shared pastime because you can listen to music pretty much anywhere while doing any task. Many individuals do so while commuting, exercising, doing schoolwork, etc. And considering that many of us are daily music consumers, the music we listen to can also greatly influence us in our lives. Pop specifically is in the top 3 most popular genres of music in America, with 13.3% of music listeners streaming this type of music in 2021. This is also data collected in Godeg's study. The genre of pop originated during the mid-1950s in the US and the UK, and it is a specific genre with the broad genre of popular music and usually includes repeated choruses, hooks, and rhythms, or tempos that can easily be danced to. Much pop music also borrows elements from other styles such as rock, urban, dance, Latin, and even country. The popularity of pop music has influenced American culture in more ways than one, but we aim today to focus on its influence on fashion. In this episode, we will first cover the history of pop and then go into examples of how this genre of music has influenced American fashion trends. As we have already mentioned, pop originated during the mid-1950s, and this is because of industrialization. During this period, advanced digital equipment became more readily available, allowing us to produce this genre of music. And this is how the artists that now define this genre were born. And who do we think about when we think of pop?
Yeah, I personally tend to think about more recent figures in pop like Dua Lipa and Justin Timberlake.
Okay, right. Justin Timberlake was one of my favorite pop artists as a child, too. And Sexy Back was one of my dad's favorite songs, so that is one of the songs that I remember listening to a lot.
When I think of pop, I think of the king himself, Michael Jackson. His songs were almost everywhere when I was growing up, on the radio and my parents' playlist, especially my mom's, who didn't grow up in the U.S. I feel like you would recognize him just from his songs. Even if you didn't know his name, you definitely heard his music.
Agreed. Michael Jackson is someone I think we all think about when we think of the genre of pop, and he is not only notable because of his talent, but also because of his activism. Jackson actually helped complete the desegregation of pop music within the U.S. and introduce an era of multiculturalism. It is also interesting to look at how both of your responses differ and to see how people may view pop differently. Some of us may think of current artists, whereas some of us may think about the individuals that shape the genre. From generation to generation, our idea of this popular genre and its influence can shift. With societal changes, who we deem as influential has changed. Public figures belonging to minority groups, specifically, have been highlighted in more recent years instead of silenced. For example, artists that belong to the LGBTQ+ community are now greatly admired by ordinary individuals within the community, and they serve as a model for this group of individuals. A popular pop music within the queer community is Sir Elton John. Not only is Elton John an extremely talented composer and singer, but he's also a gay icon who navigated his sexuality within the public eye. He officially came out as gay to Rolling Stones magazine in 1992, but his romantic relationships before this were a bit all over the place. In 1969, Sir Elton John was engaged to Linda Woodrow, but he got cold feet and called off their wedding 2 weeks before their wedding date.
Really? Elton John? Backed out of something? To me, at least, Elton John doesn't seem to be someone who would get cold feet, as you put it.
He did, and not too long after, in 1970, Elton John began his first gay affair with the music manager, John Reid. Their relationship, which is depicted in Rocket Man, crashed 5 years later, but Reid remained his manager until 1988. Soon after this relationship, he became a trailblazer by discussing his bisexuality publicly for the first time. Here's a clip from one of his interviews discussing his journey with his sexuality, as well as his advice for young LGBTQ+ children.
What do you want to say to kids, LGBTQ kids who are still struggling out there?
Just be yourself. Don't let anybody do you down. I've been very privileged because I'm in a business which kind of accepts gay people, although I came out quite early. I'm very privileged. There are kids that aren't privileged. They come from poor backgrounds. Their parents don't understand. Religion gives them a hard time. If you're unhappy at home, leave.
Really?
Leave.
Mm-hmm.
Leave. Don't let anybody torture you for being gay or for your sexuality. Leave. Life is full of adventures. Always have hope in your heart. Stay away from drugs and just try and be as true to yourself as possible. It's wonderful to be gay. I love being gay, and
Me too.
I really do. And I think, I wouldn't have had the life I had if I hadn't been gay. And I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud that I can appreciate that.
Personally, I love this clip, and I think that it encapsulates Elton John's character and advocacy for being different. Reed, did you know that this journey of figuring out his sexuality and dating influenced his music?
Wow, I really had no clue that Elton John's relationship with his manager influenced his music. And now looking at the lyrics within Rocket Man, the line, "I'm not the man they think I am at home," seems to really speak to the part of his identity that he had not been open with yet.
Right, it's very interesting how the song is now completely transformed, now that we know its context. My point for bringing up Sir Elton John is that him being open with his sexuality has named him an advocate or model minority for the queer community. Since he is such a popular artist and public figure and just so happens to be gay, he is now looked up to by many individuals who have lived similar lives. It is so common for people within the LGBTQ+ community to idolize someone because of the criticism that our community faces. It has been just recently that being gay or deviating from heteronormativity is more accepted, and because of this, we tend to need someone to rely on or get advice from when navigating our own challenges. This same sort of thing can happen with celebrities that identify with minority racial or ethnic groups. And further, Prince is the first artist that comes to mind in terms of pop music and racial minority groups. Shivani, are you familiar with Prince?
Kind of. In my experience, Prince's songs were more recognizable than himself as a person. I remember when I first heard his songs, I didn't know who he was, but when I looked him up, I found that he was on the radio all the time with his songs 1999, Raspberry Beret, and Purple Rain, and they were all songs that I really enjoyed. Prince seems to be a pretty interesting person.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm also a fan of the song Purple Rain, and I think a lot of individuals are, because according to the Billboard Hot 100, Purple Rain reached number 2 and stayed there for 2 weeks upon coming out. This song also speaks to his individuality, but also his desire to be accepted. He is unique because he deviated from the bland masculine stereotype. He proved a guy could be androgynous, sexually, and gender fluid. He deviated from all of the traditional standards of the time, and his uniqueness confused a lot of people as well as his racial identity. Many questioned his identity as a black man because of his lighter skin. Many things about Prince were uncertain in the eyes of his audience, but he was openly comfortable with being different from the average person. By embracing his own quirks, he was able to inspire others to embrace their own uniqueness.
These artists that represent minority groups are also very important because they create a community of listeners that all share something in common, whether that be through life experiences or just being of the same identity itself.
Right. The communities that artists are able to create serve an incredibly important purpose. These creators and public figures can also influence cultures in terms of dress, language, behavior, and even attitude. Since we tend to idolize or romanticize public figures, fashion trends within American culture have been widely influenced by those within the public sphere. Pop artists specifically have set many of the trends in terms of fashion, some being quite absurd. So, what is the craziest fashion trend you guys can think of?
One of the weirdest trends that I can recall of the 2000s was the overly shiny pants that made the whole room bright. I can recall my sister actually having a pair of overly bright pants appearing in our house and how outrageously laughable it was. Even as a kid, it was hysterical. Celebrities like Taylor Swift and Demi Lovato have, ironically enough, created looks with these chromatic pants.
Basically anything denim that isn't regular jeans or jean jackets. There are so many images of these pants and jackets that are like half denim and half plastic or mesh. I don't know how people can find these cute or what, but I have seen public figures like Gigi Hadid and Kendall Jenner like rocking these looks.
Right. There are so many questionable fashion choices made by celebrities or pop artists, and these are two great examples. I actually owned a pair of the shiny pants that Reed was talking about. But I, however, would like to focus on one of the pop artists we discussed earlier, Michael Jackson. Some of his fashion choices have been contentious, to say the least, but according to British Vogue magazine, he wrote in Moonwalk in 1988, "If fashion says it's forbidden, I'm going to do it." He was successful in taking fashion pieces that people did not expect, yet his dress greatly influenced fashion trends in the 80s, whether that be glitter, sequins, bright colors, military jackets, etc. The pop artists coming after Jackson have further utilized these fashion trends that he pioneered.
This sounds a lot like the early 2000s fashion, especially the ones shown on TV and worn by young music stars like Hannah Montana or Miley Cyrus comes to mind. I was a big fan of hers and wanted nothing more than to dress like her in elementary school. Thank God my parents didn't buy me a blonde wig.
I was also very inspired by Hannah Montana, and I vividly remember my best friend growing up having a Hannah Montana themed birthday party. And she had the party in her garage, and her parents built a stage where all of us could sing, karaoke, and dance. It was quite a hit among all of our friends.
Yeah, though I can't relate because I did not idolize Hannah Montana. I can definitely recall a ton of times when I would dress like Justin Timberlake because my mom was such a fan. She loved his sense of style and liked to try and emulate that with me in my younger years for sure.
Yeah, even younger generations who were not even alive during the 80s have been impacted by the pieces that Michael Jackson wore, because of the fact that his looks inspired the fashion of other pop artists and celebrities. Some of the most famous fashion outfits include the white sequins glove, military and glittery jackets, the fedora hat, the red leather jacket, and the black and white suit. Jackson wore a single white sequin glove in 1983 during his performance of Billie Jean at the Motown 25th anniversary television special. Following this performance, the glove became a part of his stage attire, and he often wore it during performances and public appearances. Another staple in his closet were jackets, military jackets, glittery jackets, the red jacket that he wore in his music video for Thriller, etc. He was known for jackets, and he was known for his love of military regalia, and often incorporated it into his stage costumes in some shape or form. He therefore helped spark the utility trends in the 20th and 21st centuries.
How would you describe these utility trends?
Yeah, fashion utility trends include staple pieces like leather jackets, cargo pants, bomber jackets, extravagant boots, all of which Michael Jackson wore. Moon boots are a recent trend inspired by military regalia or this utility style, and I find them to be quite ridiculous. They are essentially large puffy boots that kind of resemble Eskimo shoes. A lot of people wear them to go skiing, and the company that creates these boots is ironically called Moon Boot, cleverly named. And these boots range from like the prices of $325 to $500, which is insane. And I do not see how the boots are at all practical shoes. However, because they are trending in the media, many influencers and people who can afford that high price point have purchased these shoes, and they've become such a trend.
Oh God, that's a lot. I've seen these utility styles going around even today. I just never knew the name of the style. And with that price tag, I don't think I want to participate.
Those boots were insane because I remember in Napoleon Dynamite, he used those in the movie and just laughing so hard as a kid because they were just so absurd.
Yeah, I agree with you both. The moon boots are quite bizarre, especially when priced at such a high retail price. It's also important to look at how these fashion trends begin. All it takes for a crazy fashion trend to start is for someone in the public eye to wear it, which I think is an interesting concept for us to think about. Because, how do we decide who gets the platform to be of influence to society?
I think that has a lot to do with the people we want to give a voice to. It's like a mirror. These people usually are people who share similar values, struggles, and other things like that. And because we have a lot of things in common morally, we want to have a lot of things in common physically.
I would agree with you, Shivani. Michael Jackson specifically could influence fashion and start these trends because of his individuality. People saw Michael Jackson's individuality as a sort of protest against societal norms at the time. Traditionally, clothes were gendered, so certain clothes were marketed to men and certain clothes were marketed to women. Women were supposed to wear extravagant and over-the-top clothing, whereas men were expected to wear masculine clothing. Michael Jackson did not, however, comply with the gendered fashion rules, and he wore clothes that other men found to be feminine. Jackson encouraged other men and women to wear whatever they wanted or express themselves in whatever way made them happy, and he is still admired for his great influence on the music industry and society.
Jackson had a talent for performing and would use parts of his outfit in his performance. One example is his shoes. When he does that gravity-defying lean forward, the heels of his shoes would prevent the heel from lifting off the ground, even if Jackson's center was off balance and way forward. Many of his outfits that he would wear turned out to be very iconic, especially the ones that you would think immediately when you hear one of his songs or his name. One example was the Thriller red jacket. These outfits would later go on to inspire people like Lady Gaga, Pharrell, and Harry Styles.
I would agree that Michael Jackson was quite the icon. Further, another style that has greatly influenced both music and fashion within American culture is Harry Styles. Like Michael Jackson, Harry Styles is quote-unquote a gender-bending fashionista. Harry Styles was born in Worcester, England on February 1st, 1994. So he's a younger and more modern influencer compared to Michael Jackson, but very, very influential. He was raised in Holmes Chapel, England by his parents Anne Twist and Desmond Style. However, after 7 years old, he was strictly raised by his mother as his parents did divorce. Styles first started making music while being a student at Holmes Chapel Comprehensive School, and he was the lead singer of the band White Eskimo. However, Styles' appearance on The X Factor and as a member of the band One Direction really kickstarted his career. However, unfortunately, this band did disband, and after the disbandment of this boy band, he embarked on a career as a solo artist and actor. So in 2016, he signed a contract with Columbia Records and launched an independent record label, Eskrin Records. And in 2017, he released his debut album, Sign of the Times. Soon after releasing the song, Styles revealed that it was inspired by a mother who was told that she has only a few minutes to live after giving birth, and he further stated that his entire debut album was inspired by the fundamental rights of other human beings. His music became known for its combined influence of rock, soft rock, and pop, and is influenced by listening of the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, etc. He also became known for being an advocate for the equal treatment of others and breaking societal norms, and he is now known for his slogan, Treat People with Kindness, or TPWK. So when did you guys first discover Harry Styles?
I believe I discovered Harry Styles in elementary school, middle maybe. Definitely when One Direction was popular. Almost all the girls were talking about them, especially Harry Styles. And do not get me started with the TV show that came out.
Harry Styles was more prominent in the middle school crowd of people, to me in the same way for Shivani in terms of girls being fans. If you admitted you were a fan as a guy, it was almost like a laughing point for other guys.
Exactly. I was not much of a One Direction stan growing up. However, I do know a lot of people that were obsessed and had the big posters, big cutouts. I think they were a really big group for a lot of girls growing up. I actually only got into Harry Styles' music once he became a solo artist, specifically his most recent album. But also in 2017, Styles made his debut as an actor. He was within the film Dunkirk, and he played the role of a British soldier during World War II named Alex. And during this movie, Alex is trapped on the beaches of Dunkirk as Germany advances into France. His appearance in this film showed people that he was not only a talented singer and performer, but also a surprisingly good actor. Following Sign of the Times in 2019, Styles released his second album, Fine Line. This album broke U.S. sales records for a British male singer, and further, the song Watermelon Sugar, arguably the most popular song on this album, won the Grammy Award for Best Pop Solo Performance and the Brit Award for British Single of the Year.
I feel like I might get some hate from the Harry Styles fans, but Watermelon Sugar is a pretty good song, but not one I would personally download on my phone. I do enjoy it when I listen to it on the radio. However, it is a little overplayed.
I would definitely agree. I thought the song was really good once I first heard it, but I think through TikTok, it being used that way, people playing it over and over again on the radio, I think it did receive a lot of recognition, but it did become overplayed really quickly. Nonetheless, though, it was a successful song. And 2022 was also a major year for Harry Styles with his commercial hit Harry's House, as well as his appearance within Olivia Wilde's psychological thriller Don't Worry, Darling. Harry's House won 3 Grammys, including Album of the Year and the Best Pop Vocal Album, and personally, this is my favorite album of his. As I mentioned before, this is really the album that got me into Harry Styles, and one of my favorite songs on the album is Matilda. I also really like Little Freak, but we'll be focusing on Matilda today, and this song really speaks to familial relationships, and as we've already discussed, his parents were divorced when he was quite young, and after the divorce, Styles' father walked away and his mother became his sole parent. And although Styles says that this song is based on one of his friends, I cannot help but think that maybe Matilda is also somewhat based on his experiences and his family dynamic. What do you guys think about this speculation?
I don't know. People can get inspiration from almost anywhere. Harry might have gotten inspiration from a friend or from his own life, or he could have just made it up. But I think it's one of the good things about music. It can draw from anything and everything that you inspire you to make music.
Shivani, it's a great point.
I do agree that artists can get inspiration from anywhere, and that is one of the great things about music. They can get inspiration from music anywhere, whether that be from their friends' lives, the environment, their hobbies, their own experiences, and the list goes on. I think it could be interesting to also look at this song as it pertains to his life, but just a thought. Further, because his music is so real and relatable, and because he has displayed how kind of a person he truly is, Harry Styles has had a great influence on American culture. Fashion specifically is one of the things that makes Styles stand out because he does not wear stage costumes that we would expect typically a man to wear. Though his style was not always as bold and daring as it is now, he has become a public figure that is known for stepping outside the box in terms of his fashion choices. He is known for wearing pearl necklaces, wide-leg jeans, feminine shirts with ruffles, pink suits, dazzled clothing, the list goes on. However, one of my favorite looks worn by Styles is the look that he wore for the 2019 Met Gala. This look is composed of black trousers, a black mesh top with ruffles, and black-heeled boots. He also pierced his ear strictly for the occasion and wore a dangly pearl earring. He was really dedicated to this look. This outfit is sleek, professional, and androgynous.
I believe he once wore a brown suit and had like these green embroidered dragons on one pant leg and over one shoulder. That both looked pretty elegant and pretty cool. I believe he also had a pair of purple silk pants with yellow and green dragons on them. I don't know if it's obvious, but I really like dragons, and this is one of my favorite looks of his.
His black on black suit top and white button up with no tie and the collars up is a good fashion look for guys' outfits for sure. In a way, I kind of wear similar attire, and while I don't wear the collar so low down, I really think it's a solid outfit I would wear for like a nice dinner.
Yeah, both outfits that you guys mentioned are great. And Shivani, I also think dragons are pretty cool, especially as a statement piece on clothing. Every one of his looks makes a statement, and he encourages others to wear whatever makes them happy and to challenge gendered fashion. Styles started the trend of androgynous dress for both men and women, and sweaters is one of the staple clothing pieces that he encouraged other men to own and wear. And he continues to be one of the great influences within American culture and around the world. Though we have only covered several of the most influential figures, many artists within the genre of pop have influenced fashion as we know it.
Pop music is one of the 3 most popular genres in the U.S. and came around in the 1950s. These songs in this genre usually have repeated elements like hooks, rhymes, and tempos that can be danced to very easily. And pop has a lot of influences from other genres and influences on our culture in turn.
Michael Jackson, as one striking figure, is a well-known pop artist that tended to shift against the normal dressing to fit in with the crowd. One of his more iconic traits being his fedora hat tip that he references in a few of his songs that brings the style he uses in the song to real life, as he commonly walked in with a fedora in public. Another major trait Jackson seemed to employ in his singing style would have to be the iconic glove he would use when singing. He would wear it in music videos and in concert shows when he would hold a microphone.
Now Harry Styles. Harry Styles is a prominent artist within pop, and he has influenced American culture and fashion because of his kindness and individuality. He has had quite the journey as an artist and actor from the start of his career as a member of One Direction to the start of his career as a solo artist and actor. Throughout this journey, Styles also found his niche style and identity within the public eye. Where he used to dress in a way that was not as gender-bending or bold, he found comfort in challenging gendered fashion, dressing in a way that made some people feel uncomfortable. He was able to produce change somewhat within society by breaking these fashion rules. Good things happen when we challenge people to step outside of their comfort zones and embrace the uncomfortable. He also created a space for queer individuals to express themselves, as we have seen him come on stage multiple times with a pride flag, welcoming people of all different sexual orientations and gender. It is seriously crazy how significant of an impact artists and public figures can make on culture. All right, and this was our first episode of In the Loop, Fashionably Dressed. Come back to learn more about how our greatest artists and music hits have influenced American culture as we know it. Stay in the loop.
It's been a pleasure. Dank out.
Thank you all for tuning in. Shivani Vashi out.
See you next time. Corinne Gutman out.